wall burst open? How did we get here on a plane? How does this place link up with Hydro City? The answer to these questions and more will not be answered in this video. But this is still the Mississippi King welcoming you all back to more Let's Play Sonic Mania. And in the last episode, we tackled Hydrocity. And yes, I did pronounce it as both Hydrocity and Hydrocity to trigger Sonic fans. You know, I'm just like that. Deal with it. In this episode, we'll tackle Mirage Saloon Zone. And can I just say, for the moment, that its music is really good. It actually reminds me a lot of the soundtrack to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I think that was intentional. Of course, I can't confirm that. It's just a hunch, but it feels like the soundtrack to this zone is an homage to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And as I've said, it's a really great soundtrack. Of course, I'm a huge fan of that movie, and I thought that its soundtrack was incredible as well. And anyway, this section, by the way, is clearly based on Sky Chase's Zone. The Sky Chase Zone is alright, and really these parts aren't my favorites in terms of Sonic level concepts, but I kind of enjoy them, they're alright. And so now we've reached the train part, and wow, I die in the first 2 minutes of this zone. Well, ain't that spectacular.
Seriously, why am I screwing up so much lately in these last few episodes? I mean, first I died to Metal Sonic a ridiculous amount of times, so many that I had to edit out a lot of them. And now it's this, where I fail. Actually, it's admittedly kind of a tricky jump, but still, in the last episode I died also, so it's like, well, what's going on? I don't normally die this much. I mean, still, it's not a huge deal. I mean, look at how many lives I have. Getting a game over is not happening. It's just not that hard, folks. Anyway, I'm not much of a fan of Sky Chase, so it's an interesting combat challenge, but it's kind of annoying, and admittedly I did enjoy it more as a kid, but yeah, I just don't really care for it. It's kind of annoying and a bit slow-paced. Anyway, the zone's aesthetic clearly seems to be based on the cancelled Dust Hill Zone from the Sonic 2.
You see, Sonic 2 originally had a zone planned that was called Dust Hill. It's very obvious where the influence lies, because it's like, of course, being in a desert, and this place seems to have more cowboy influences and western influences, but still, it does seem to be a very clear reference to westerns and whatnot. And it's kind of neat that they'd reference it like that. That's kind of a bit obscure knowledge, but it does very clearly seem to be based on that. On the topic of cancelled zones from Sonic 2, there was another one with possibly the worst name for any level in a kid's game, Genocide City. You know, for kids. Because apparently, I gather what happened was that the Japanese team members weren't quite familiar with English. Either that or they wanted it to sound intimidating in English. And that is some pretty terrible stuff. But I must admit, I'm a huge fan of Western-style music. In fact, I love Westerns in general. They're one of my favorite genres, admittedly, in movies. So, of course, I'd be all over this zone. I'm a huge fan of this. And the boss to this place, by the way, is called the Uber Caterkiller. And it's actually based on a boss from Sonic Chaos, and I think as Sonic, it's based on something else. Oh, and another thing, I'm well aware that Knuckles has his own Act 1. However, I'm going to be saving that for its own video dedicated to Knuckles' playthrough, because that's just going to be condensed to one video where I show off all of the differences. Instead of like a full second playthrough, I'm just going to showcase the differences and whatnot. So we'll be seeing that later on. And this also means I'll be showing off the secret ending when you clear the game with Knuckles and Knuckles in that video as well, so stay tuned for that. I'll make it quite an eventful video, of course, but, well, now we're done with Act 2, with Act 1, and so, of course, suddenly Fang shows up and just shoots the plane out of the sky. And I must admit, I do find the sound effect of the plane falling from the sky to be somewhat amusing. And so now we're on Act 2, which is where most of the real zone begins. It has a bunch of things like totem poles, of course, and some pianos, and some bar stools that spin around, and some barrels, and things like that, as well as some loop-de-loops that are made out of sand and then disappear when you've passed them. It's got a lot of neat things in it. But one thing that I find really interesting about the boss of Act 2, Heavy Magician, is that in the description it says, with her shape-shifting hat, she's getting the band back together. Is that a Blues Brothers reference? Like, are we on a mission from God or something? Like, they're not gonna catch us. We're on a mission from God. If that's the case, then, well, I applaud you very much. Because I do enjoy that move. It's been forever since I've seen that, admittedly, but I do remember enjoying that movie a lot. When I was younger, of course, it was very entertaining, and I just really get a kick out of it. And anyway, on the topic of being on a mission from God, apparently there's actually a glitch in this game with Super Sonic, because what can happen is that Sonic can actually transform into Super Sonic, or seem like he has, but only gain these sprites, but maintain the colors and whatnot. And thus, the abilities are the same as well. And so some people have, of course, called this Super Sonic God Super Sonic. Of course, as a reference to Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, which, yes, I still insist is a stupid name for a transformation. Like, seriously? That's just terrible. And on the topic of that fourth special stage, man, it's like, that one was pretty tricky. It took me a lot of tries to finish, which is why some people tend to refer to it as that damn fourth Chaos Emerald. Because, of course, you can never make fun of Shadow the Hedgehog enough. That's a terrible game. And it's just hot garbage. I am not a fan of Shadow the Hedgehog, in case people can't tell. That game! I really hate Shadow the Hedgehog. That game can go rot for all I care. I really hate it. And anyway, I need scissors 61! In fact, that's how many lives I have now. Well, 62 actually, but yes, what did I tell you? 61 lives. Oh, and Heavy Magician, by the way, transformed into Fang, Bean, and Bark. That's pretty cool, actually, a neat homage. Anyway, that's it for this video. This is the Mississippi King signing out, and in the next episode we'll tackle Oil Ocean Zone. See y'all then.